like say what we do or any sort of context to like how we help kind of businesses hire. This is not a demo. This is not a pitch. This is just me just going to give you a bit of information. Also, they don't put me in sales. So that's technically why I'm very bad at explaining what this is. But suffice it to say, like Landed is like sourcing, vetting, and scheduling of like hourly talent for hospitality businesses specifically. We also work with retail, but like by and large, the vast majority of our clients are either hotels or restaurants. We do the sourcing. So like, obviously, you know, how do we advertise and acquire the sort of like candidates you need for front of house, back of house, you know, porters, night porters, daytime, nighttime shifts, whatever it works. We'll vet them. So we have our own sort of vetting criteria for the quality of the candidate, and then we'll do the automated scheduling. So what you hear a lot about is AI as a sort of like grand buzzword in the space. We have like a very cool AI that basically is like an SMS back and forth between whoever's the hiring manager, the specific hiring manager, the specific interviewer with the candidate to like automatically schedule that interview. The candidate has no idea that they're actually speaking to an AI. They think they're speaking to the GM, who will automatically place and schedule within both people's calendars, so that you have far less chance of like getting mixed up. You've far less hassle reading all these sort of Indeed resumes. You know, some people get like 100 resumes and they're like kind of shot. They like just can't even think about it. And so it kind of alleviates that entire burden all the way up to the hiring. Obviously, it's on the restaurant or the hotel or whatever business to hire the person, but on a practical level, that's kind of how it works. We also work with other hotels. So if that's any interest to you, like we work at Ritz, and we work with, what's the other one? Is it Maya? What's the one, Tiger? I'm trying to remember.
Maya Hotel Group. They have like Holiday Inns, Hamptons Inns. Like they have
Maya
like
Hotel Group.
10 hotels in like Carolinas.
Yeah. Chris, do you want to tell us, like, as we start this, we'll edit all this, so like we'll send you like a finalized package of this, but do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be where you are today?
Sure. My name is Chris Shatto. I started out in the hospitality industry in Florida. I actually put myself through college bartending, and then stuck with it because I was having such a great time and all my friends were my coworkers. So as opportunities were presented to me, I took advantage of them and advanced through hotels. I was primarily in upscale luxury products all over Florida. Started out in Central Florida, then Northeast Florida, and then South Florida before moving to Charlotte, North Carolina. And even in Charlotte, I was in luxury hotels until the pandemic hit, which I found myself looking for a job like everyone else. And luckily, my wife and I, who my wife is also, she's kind of comes in and out over my shoulder here, also was in the hospitality industry, and that's how we met. A year before COVID, we had purchased a recruiting firm, and there was a long-term goal for ourselves. COVID made that a short-term goal, and here we are, several years later, being successful, trying to find leadership roles for individuals that are in hospitality specific.
Yeah, awesome. And very aligned with us in the sense that we don't really recruit for leadership at all. We're looking for the people in the kitchen, the people on the floor, everyone else. So this is great to hear as well. And that's awesome. And it's awesome your wife is there as well. Hopefully this is a nice conversation she hears. And she's very impressed with all the insights you're going to give now. I guess the first question, Chris, we want to start with is the three biggest roadblocks or challenges that you see in the hospitality space.
The three biggest roadblocks, I believe, right now is the number or lack of number of potential employees. The business of hospitality fluctuates with the economy because, in all intents and purposes, going out to a restaurant, going out to hotels, kind of a luxury. And so when money's tight, I think those businesses drop. And when money's not so tight, those businesses do well. And so there's that ebb and flow that happens constantly. And then there's this workforce that needs to support that. And I think COVID turned a lot of people off of the workforce. I think a lot of professionals that had found happiness in hospitality and had resigned to some of the negative aspects of working in hospitality were forced to go outside of hospitality and found that they really didn't want to overlook those negative aspects anymore and stayed outside of hospitality. So those people all still exist. It's not like they went anywhere. They just went to another industry. We now have to locate individuals that are willing to take their place. Luckily, a lot of a lot of roles in hospitality are designed to be entry level. So really what most people are looking for is a personality, someone that has the ability to communicate and put a smile on someone's face that they've never met before. So I think the goal is to find those people, and that in itself is the obstacle, is finding them as well. Another obstacle is there's the title food and beverage manager, as an example, applies to a very wide range of people, skill sets, and they get compensated in a very wide range as well. So to identifying if someone's the right fit or not can be a challenge, and then compensating that person can be a challenge too, based on what they've done before, where they were before, the size of the property, the volume of the property, any number of factors which seem almost irrelevant to most people, makes it really hard to identify who can be a great fit in advance of them actually working. A third challenge is I believe a lot of people that really like this business stay in it for a long term, and that means being promoted up, and there is a lot of room for promotion, but just like any industry, that funnel is upside down, and it gets narrower and narrower as you get higher up, and I believe that there's just not enough high level roles in the industry to continue to feed long term this career path that a lot of people have taken.
Okay, that's very insightful.
I don't know. You got me off guard, so I just kind of threw some things out there. No one's asked me those questions specifically before, so maybe that was too much. I don't know. Tell me.
No, absolutely not. No, and like I love like to be kind of quiet in the way I ask the question, because I don't like you're on a roll and you're just gonna like come out with your very insightful kind of comments. I never even thought about like the fact that in say hospitality and in particular hotels that you like specialize in, that there's just a lack of roles, of senior roles. So there's like a bottleneck for progression for a lot of talent.
Correct. That's
which is, I mean, Tiger worked in hospitality.
Yeah,
Also knows very well.
What'd you do, Tiger?
I was a nightclub busser for Marriott, and then I used to work for SBE, also in their nightclub division. I was in nightlife for a very long time. Mm-hmm. But like you said, there's one manager and there's one director of ops, where I was anyway, and that's the only way you can really move up in a nightclub. And so whether 10 servers and 10 bussers and like a bunch of barbacks, like everyone's fighting for one position. Like you can't really move up. Like you said, there's not a lot of senior roles in those industries. But one thing I did actually find really interesting, Chris, is that you were talking about how a lot of the hospitality workers like pre-COVID, switched industries post-COVID, looking for a job, and they're not really, and you said they're not really like coming back. Do you have any idea of like what industries they like moved to?
Retail was a big one, although retail took a hit during COVID as well. Honestly, the skill set that successful hospitality employees have is transferable to a lot of other industries that have front-facing responsibilities. So some IT, an example would be the Apple store in a mall. Just about everyone in there should be someone who was successful in hospitality, because that interaction, that one-on-one, that face-to-face interaction is learned in hospitality and refined in hospitality. And so, transitioning out and then putting them in a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday role is substantial. And they get their breaks and when they're supposed to, they get their lunches when they're supposed to. It isn't dictated by someone else's decision to come into the restaurant, after they close by 5 minutes, and they're like, okay, well, we'll take care of you. Then that's 7 people that have to work longer than expected when you count the kitchen and everyone else, right? So I think I believe the way that the most other industries are kind of defined in what the roles are, and not that there's not flexibility or expectations for people to be flexible, that it's just not required as much from my perspective. In most other industries, you come in and you do your thing, and no matter where you are at the end of the day, it's still the end of the day. a lot of times in hospitality, the end of the day is when you're done with what you're supposed to do that day, irrelevant of how long it takes you. So, those kinds of, small things add to the negative components of what people look at this industry like.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess next question. What are the types of emerging tech in the hospitality space that are exciting you? Is there anything in tech?
There's one that's been out for a bit of time now, the keyless entry. That's really gaining speed. I think it started with more of the Airbnb, VRBO type industry, but the hotels are embracing it as well, especially the select service, limited service properties. But it's going into the full service ones, and there's a great deal of time that is expected from a front desk agent at a hotel to spend with one person that's checking in, and in some cases that can be 14 minutes, and that may not seem like a lot, but if you have a lot of check-ins for a 300-room hotel, and everyone checks in at check-in time, which is right around that 4 o'clock mark, how many people do you need to accomplish that? And so to move a vast number of those people out of the queue line and automate that process is saving a great deal of money, a great deal of headaches, a lot less mistakes are happening. There's other AI type IT tech that's in hotels with engineering and housekeeping. There's software that is in the form of an app that goes on everyone's phone, that if a housekeeper finds that there's a light bulb out, she can click probably 2 buttons and an engineer will know and be dispatched, and that will even be tracked by that person's manager, how long it took them to do it, and now they need to buy another light bulb to replace their inventory. It's really quite amazing how in depth they go to, and even in the kitchens they have point of sale systems where every time a certain item is ordered by a guest, it goes into an inventory process where you can simply order the foods that you need to replenish that on a quicker basis, and sometimes not even a human required, just maybe oversight. So those are some amazing things that I know of personally that are already in place that are still very exciting because they get better all the time.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like us as like sort of software providers ourselves, we're like exposed to so much of it, and I love hearing from like vendors like yourself, just the kind of those kind of aha moments, or those kind of like, wow, there's actually a real difference maker happening to the operations of the organization. It feels like, especially we hear a lot from people like post 2020 or post pandemic that there's been some like almost like a technological leap in hospitality itself. Like we hear like an embrace of AI. I don't remember anybody ever talking about AI in tech at all, like 18 months ago, let alone in like hospitality. I never hear people that, like, you think of all these kind of little tools and services that can like to your point, like show when a light bulb's out, and how do you optimize your organization to be able to deliver that one extra light bulb to solve it when it needs to be solved. It's very, very fascinating.
Agreed.
I suppose the next question to you, Chris, I know this is like rapid fire, is the job market in hospitality strong?
I guess it depends on which perspective you're looking at. If you're a candidate, it may not be right now as strong as you would like. If you are the owner or a management company of an operation, it is pretty strong. There's a great deal of need out in the industry right now across the board. So that poses challenges for hotel operators and casino operators and country club operators and restaurant operators to identify them. That produces opportunities for candidates where maybe if you're on track to a certain title in your future, that might be sped up a little bit because the hiring teams prerequisites have been dumbed down a little bit, or maybe compromised a little bit, just because they need someone in that place and they're willing to accept someone that maybe not quite as experienced as you thought, or maybe not quite as educated, or maybe not quite the level of exposure as you would hope for. You put more on the existing team to compensate or train or both.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's interesting you say, like, from a candidate perspective, like not as strong, but it is strong for like the employers. And I wonder, is that like in your, because obviously you're in more a hotel side of things, that like, do you think that there's like less jobs available for candidates who want to go work in hotels, or that the jobs are full and the hotels are happy because they're full now?
I think there's a distance between what the company that's hiring is looking for and what the candidates are bringing to the table. I think that's where the challenge is, that not everyone in hospitality is resigned to the fact of hiring the person and teaching them what they need to know. I think a lot of people in hospitality that are even from my age group are, you pay someone at a manager's job, they should know the job. You walk in, I don't need to teach you how to do this. I'm hiring you because you have experience doing this and you should be able to do it. That's not the case anymore. You have to find people that are willing to learn and willing to grow and teach them how to do the job. But so from a candidate's perspective, that sounds great. I'm going to go in and apply for this role that I may not be qualified for completely. And those hiring teams that are looking at just the paper that says what you've done are dismissing them. And they're not embracing the fact that they've got some key experiences that we can work with. So from the candidate's perspective, there's a lot of rejection coming out there, and it's based on the resume that there's, or their LinkedIn profile or whatever they're using. That's where the rejections are coming in, and people aren't even getting the opportunity to interact with another person to see if they're articulate, if they smile when they talk, if they truly have a passion for what they're doing and they're excited about even being considered for the role. That none of that ever takes place, at least right now. So I think that's where the disconnect is, that it's harder for candidates because they're the only ones that are available for these roles. It's not like people are out there just not applying. If you have an opening and people apply, that's what's available to you. Now,
Totally.
And that I say that, and here I am as a recruiter, and I make a difference, and the difference I make is I'm dealing with people that are happily employed, but have a growth in mind to something else, and I have those conversations with them, and at some point in the future, that opportunity comes my way, and then I hand them this candidate that I've already spoken with, that's not out searching for a job because they got laid off or can't find what they're looking for. They're looking for the next step in their professional career, and so that's a distinction in how a recruiter like myself can assist.
So that's awesome. I mean, I wonder then, do you think there's a big difference between, say, Gen Z candidates and sort of older candidates in terms of like expectations or how they do the job?
Definitely. I'm certain older candidates push through a lot of crap on the site at the job with the expectation or the knowledge that this is just what it is, and I'm going to make this work. I think the younger generation doesn't see it that way. I think they see that the workplace should be something that they enjoy, and if they don't, there's another job that they'll find that does. And so hospitality's never been a warm and fuzzy place for your coworkers and peers. At least in all of my experiences, that's not the case. Great friendships are born there, but not necessarily. Yeah, exactly. But not necessarily, the warm and fuzzies that occur in other industries. So, yeah.
Fair enough. I guess the next question: what are what do you see as like emerging trends for you, like in terms of like the running of hotels, hospitality, like reduced hours or reduced staff? Like, what kind of trends do you see in the operation of like these businesses?
See, they're really compromises. At least that's how it's presented to me. What I'm dealing with upper level management, and they're telling me what they're dealing with, what their operation is like, and with the intention of me helping them find someone to fit into that. And so their words are that we've compromised this, not that we modified it or changed it, but the compromises are different operating hours. Maybe not open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week when no one ever comes to breakfast on Monday, as an example. Room service is slowly pushing out of hotels. You see less and less of that, and the ones that still do it offer a compromised version of it, where it's not the same as what I knew when I was in the industry. I think schedules are being considered more flexible. It's difficult though, because as the example I used earlier, you and I go out to eat at a restaurant and don't necessarily think about closing time when we're going in. That's not something we think about. If it closes at 10 and it's 9:45, well, I'm on time, right? But you can imagine what that does to the hourly team showing up at that time. That everything that they do that happens after they close gets pushed back until you leave. And that industry is so dependent on small margins and especially labor, which is almost always the highest expense any company in the hospitality has, controlling those laborers. And how do you do both? How do you say yes to a customer that wants something as small as having dinner 15 minutes before you close, while also telling your employees, I don't want you to have any overtime? Those two things, those conflict, but they're exactly what happens every day.
Interesting, because that actually is quite interesting in the sense that the retention of the existing staff that you have today, then, and how does, say, the hospitality groups that you work with, or from your own personal experience, given that everything has changed so much, and that these trends are for flexible work hours or for whichever, how are there specific perks or policies, or what do you see companies doing now to improve retention of the staff that they even have alone?
I think it's a great question. I'm hesitant to say nothing stands out, and I'm only hesitant.
Fair answer in and of itself, though.
Yeah, that's why I'm hesitant to say it. It's not that there's not people taking actions. It's just nothing stands out. There's offerings of more paid time off. There's memberships to gyms that are discounted. You can join the YMCA for a discounted rate, or there's always the discount to stay at other properties within the same family to encourage that time off approach. But nothing's that I can think of that I've been shared with really stands out as a big change that's going to affect retention, if that makes sense. So an opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one of the things we've seen over probably the last 12 months is the absolute cluster of people looking to hire as fast as they could to fill the spaces post-pandemic. And ghosting was a huge deal for recruitment. The ball was very much in the candidates' court, whereas now we're hearing from a lot of partners that it's very much retention, and how do we solve that? And to your point, it's nobody's really nailed down what policies or perks are key kind of motivators for keeping staff. So I guess it's very much an opportunity for lots of businesses to figure out what works for them. I mean, obviously, certain brands, something like a Chick-fil-A doesn't have as much of a churn problem as name other brands. Not that I want to put somebody down, but you obviously say Chick-fil-A, as there's demand for people to work there, and quite clearly the way they treat their staff, the way they treat them with college grants, and all this kind of stuff actually matters. And you made a point earlier about where staff are going. They've not come back. The people are still alive. It's just they've moved from hospitality to other spaces. And a big thing that we see is obviously your DoorDashes and your Amazons offering flexible on your own terms, on your own hours, and tradition maybe a better working environment than like a traditional sort of like hospitality job, which are famous for like kind of difficult sort of situations, to like people offering like to Amazon offering like college tuition and pathways to like better sort of like careers for them, but also the fact that they're also just paying more. You know, at the end of the day, like they're just offering salaries in the 20s of dollars as opposed to in the teens of dollars, which is, you know, I mean, it doesn't take anybody to kind of realize if you're going to work in an hourly job that number screams, and those kind of different pressures might be more suitable. But yeah, these are Chris, these are the questions that we wanted to ask. Insanely insightful. I mean, man, honestly, like I thoroughly appreciate it. And it's great to have somebody like you who's so like knowledgeable about the space to be on this. And these are our main podcast is called Fast Casual. This is Fast Bites, because the goal is to ask people all these same questions. They like see if there's like a trend across the space on these very specific questions. So we have thought about these questions. It's not like I was riffing, just coming out with these amazing questions. I thank Tiger for putting them together.
Yeah.
But if there's anything we can do for you, I mean, this is not a sales call, like we said. Like we don't really want to make it like a salesy kind of thing. Obviously, if you want to see a demo of the product, we're happy to organize that for you. If not, that's fine. And if there's anything we can do for you, given that you gave us 30 minutes of your time, we'd be happy to help out. We're going to package this for you into like we were saying, we'll put it up, we'll tidy up the visual and the audio, but we'll kind of put it on YouTube. We'll put it on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google Podcasts. We're going to put this on LinkedIn as a bit of content as well for you. So like you can share it on LinkedIn, like kind of like short kind of snippets of what we were talking about here today. And we'll create a blog post for you as well. So like all this content will be made available for you, and you can share it with your clients. You can share it with like your friends, your family, whatever way it works, whatever you want to do with it. And yeah, I mean, there's so much insight here. This already so super helpful for us. And for that, I'm greatly appreciative.
I appreciate time, Alex, as well. I had a great time.
Okay, awesome. I tried to add you on LinkedIn there, but it seems you obviously get so much inbound that you have your connect turn off, you know.
I'll definitely connect with you. I kind of set times on my calendar to go through, because you're right, there's so many people. If I just do it each time, I'd never go back to doing anything else.
Yeah, totally. That's what I thought. I was like, this guy knows. All right, well, Chris, it's an absolute pleasure. Again, like I said, if there's anything we can do for you, just ask us, and we'll follow up with all the content over the next couple of days. It's Tuesday today, so I imagine we'll probably like have most of it ready by the end of the week and share with you. And yeah, man, we're absolutely delighted. Thanks so much for like coming on and being our first Fast Bites guest, you know.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're an absolute gent, man. Have a lovely day.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.